So Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, it's set in between the events of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So our story begins immediately after the end of the Battle of Five Armies, at the end of The Hobbit, and also, of course, in the movie this December. And after the end of The Hobbit, Sauron returns to Mordor after thousands of years, and that's the moment our story begins. But also, it's still many decades before The Lord of the Rings and the War of the Ring. Yeah, we have a lot of connections to The Hobbit, almost, I guess, as a sequel, because we're immediately following those events. So, of course, the big one is Sauron's return to Mordor after thousands of years that begins our story. But then also there's a number of others. So Gollum is also driven to Mordor at this time because he's just lost the One Ring after it's been stolen. So he becomes a really key character within our story and sort of leading Talion and Celebrimbor, our two characters, deeper within Mordor as well. And then a lot of other connections as well. I think we've shown some of Galadriel's appearance and yep. So it's a combination. Like, we really have to be, of course, and want to be, because we're huge fans, very, very faithful to the books and to Tolkien. And at the same time, certain characters like Gollum is so iconic. Like, Gollum looks like Gollum, so we really have to respect that as well. So we are free, but we want to bring Middle-earth and Mordor to life in the most accurate way we can, as correctly as we can to how our players imagine that things should look. No, the entire game takes place within Mordor. There's a few reasons for that. Like, Mordor, with Sauron's return, is in a state of change. So at the beginning it looks very, very different to how it looks when Sam and Frodo go through it. It's a very volcanic, blasted hellscape. So we get to see it in the beginning and see some of its transformation. So it's almost like a concentrated version of what will happen across all of Middle-earth if Sauron is victorious. So it's really important to us to be authentic, and again, that's one of the points of going into Mordor. It's a place where, I guess, how epic things can be, how much power is going to be used there, is almost more like earlier ages of Middle-earth. So Gandalf's a particularly interesting case, because when he faces the Balrog, this massive flaming demon, that's the one time we really see him show a lot of his power and the full extent of his strength. And there's a reason for that. Gandalf is not allowed to use all of his power. That's a rule that's placed on him. He's not allowed to challenge Sauron directly. He has to work by inspiring other people and by not using the same methods that Sauron does. Celebrimbor is not like that at all. Celebrimbor is much like when Galadriel looks at the ring and Frodo offers it, and she says, if I took this, I would become a Dark Queen. If she took it, she would have absolutely kicked Sauron's ass. So it's not magic, it's restrictions and rules that prevent Gandalf from being as powerful as he is. Saruman, of course, brings down entire mountains on the Fellowship when they're trying to cross the Misty Mountains. Again, someone who's not, one of the big themes of Lord of the Rings is power and the corruption of power and how you use power. And Celebrimbor is very much, in forging the ring, someone who's not going to hold back in how much power he uses. I really like Sauron as a character. One of the things that I like very much is that even Sauron isn't just a simple bad guy. He didn't just go, I'm going to be the villain. When he was working with Celebrimbor, his goals and the elves were actually the same. It's not that Sauron disguised himself as someone else. They knew it was Sauron, but both the elves and Sauron both wanted to preserve the world or repair the world because it had nearly been destroyed. So I really like that Sauron, the ultimate villain, isn't just this simple bad guy. Even he had his sort of fall, even he was corrupted by power and the ideas of domination. We certainly see those sort of epic moments when we flash back and we see Celebrimbor's history and Sauron's history. Within the game itself, I think we're a little bit more sort of intimate and personal in our scale like that. We see events more like when Sam and Frodo go into the Tower of Cirith Ungol and we see that fortress tear itself apart. So we're not up to that sort of huge, vast scale of thousands of enemies. It's a bit more of a personal journey. I think the thing I really hope for is to be able to, especially with YouTube and streaming, to be able to go and watch people playing the game and then see things happening that we didn't expect. Because we've tried to create this living world and this system, see what happens to that when people really start playing with it.